Morning everybody. I've been asked to come and talk to you today more on an operational level, looking at the use of evidence and data very much from a day-to-day officer-led revs and bends services. Obviously we're on the cusp of one of the biggest changes to local authority finance since 1990 with the introduction of 100% non-domestic rate retention. Leaving aside the question of whether you see that as an opportunity or a threat, the reality is that the desire and the objective to make that fiscally neutral means that authorities are going to lose government funding in the forms of grants and will need to derive a greater proportion of their income from local taxation. Revenues and benefits teams have started to work more closely together in the last few years with the introduction of council tax support and business rates retention a few years ago, and this relationship is definitely going to need to develop further in future. No longer can revs and bends consider themselves purely transactional services. We don't just collect money or pay out benefits, process claims. We've got to predict, forecast, we've got to extrapolate. We need to identify opportunities for growth and for savings. For example, if we launch digital services, we need to check that people are using those services so that we can make the savings from those services. We need data and evidence to see who's using the services, who's not using the services, and then we need to use that data to work out what we can do about that. Do we know where our empty properties are? Why are they empty? Are we building any new homes in the area? Will the claimant caseload grow or shrink? In respect of business rates, are there any opportunities to grow our rateable value? Can we attract new businesses into the area, and do we offer incentives in the forms of grants or reductions? I'm probably not overstating the case to say that as employees of local authorities, we've got a significant responsibility. We're not only the protectors of the public purse, but we're the guardians of our council's futures. We need to look across all the service lines, share information, pool resources. We need to create links with other services. Business rates colleagues, for example, we probably deal on a regular basis with planning and regeneration, but do we have those same links with environmental health, trade waste, licensing? We need to look outside our councils as well, across borders and regions. In this day and age, we can't rely on gut feelings and anecdotal evidence. We need data, lots and lots of data. And that data needs to tell us not just the what or the who, but the why and the how. We need it to carry out proper consultations, to target take-up campaigns effectively. We need it to help us spot trends, identify fraud, error, highlight opportunities for growth. And we need that data to be relevant, up to date, readily available, touch of a button, swipe of a screen. We need to slice it and dice it and have it served up to us in a way that we understand it, that it's easily digestible. I'll stretch that analogy a bit further actually. If somebody else could do the shopping, the cooking and the washing up afterwards, so much the better. Local authorities have for some years now looked to colleagues in the private sector to help us with collection, collation and interpretation of data, usually for specific purposes, for example, single person discount review or an empty homes review. Local authorities no longer have the resources internally to do that work themselves, so we need to look outside and work with colleagues, or possibly get some funding from our counties to help. Time and bitter experience has shown that around 3 to 5% of an average single person discount caseload, for example, is likely to be incorrect or fraudulent. So using Burnley as an example, that would have meant once upon a time that we would have issued 15,000 single person discount review forms. We'd have sent the follow-up letters to all the non-responders, and there were thousands of those. We'd have been deluged by thousands of phone calls, bits of correspondence, irate customers. Work would have piled up for weeks. We may have had a little bit of overtime to help clear it. And after all that, we would probably remove 500-600 single person discounts. It was an expensive operation in every sense of the word. So this year we were lucky we could use the Capacity Grid single person discount review service. We used data matching, credit reference data, so that identified the highest risk cases for us. We could sift them. So in the end we issued 1,800 letters. Customers could log on securely, an intelligent web form, time that suited them, and that respond to the review, as and when it suited them. The customers who didn't want to do that, and it was probably about half and half, called or wrote to a dedicated team. Minimal impact to Burnley itself, minimal impact on the customer services or the council tax teams. and the outcome was absolutely consistent with so-called normal old-fashioned review. We removed 650 single person discounts, and that's about 4.5% of the total caseload, worth about £250,000 as well. We're also looking for fraud and error within our council tax support caseload, again using capacity grid services. To fit in with the tax-based calculation, obviously we needed to get the single person discount done and dusted. We did it in a couple of months, but we've decided to take a different approach with the council tax support review. We had the opportunity to fashion it as we wanted it to be fashioned. We could have reviewed by pensioner type or by earnings type or by amount of capital, but we chose just to go on a straightforward risk base, again the ones that look the most likely to reap a reward. We done it more as a rolling programme. We're only doing about 75 to 100 a month, but again early results, we've probably just slightly under 400 results in, and about 45% of all the claims that we reviewed have been amended, mostly identifying overpayments, about £88,000 worth, but we've also found some underpayments, so that means we can target the benefit to the people who should have been getting it, and that's a big win. As a new transferee into Liberata just this year, I'm still a bit like a child rooting through another child's toy box, when they go to their friend's house, looking to see what I can play with next, which service I can use next. And the one I've definitely got my eye on is the business rates review service. I've already mentioned at the start of this piece that business rates is going to be increasingly significant for local authorities in the future, so we need to ensure that our records are as accurate as they can be, and that we've found every last penny of rateable value, identified and counted it. We need to look locally, regionally and nationally. We need evidence for the auditors, but we need ammunition and tools to tackle ratepayers, rating agents and the valuation office. Just one final thought. Carly Fiorina, I looked this up on the internet, she was a former president of Hewlett Packard, but she did say something that hopefully I've tried to say, and she said it in a sentence. The goal is to turn data into information and information into insight. Thank you.